Welcome back to the Marching to Madness College Basketball Podcast. I have another one of my good friends on here, Mike Magpayo, the head coach of the UC Riverside Highlanders. So far this season, they're 7-5. They've been playing good basketball against a very tough schedule. Coach Magpayo's in his third season. He has a 37-25 record. Coach, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Ken. It's always good to see you. Glad to be here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. Hey, you guys have played a real tough schedule, like we just mentioned, and you've competed well overall. Seems like you've gotten better. In fact, your schedule is rated 68th out of the 363 teams.
Yeah, I think going into the season, I knew for sure that this would be the most challenging non-conference schedule we've had in my time here as an assistant and head coach. It was purposeful. We planned it like that, and to come out of there with a 7-5 record, I told the guys, and to have a pretty significant win against a top 110 team in Portland to close out non-conference, I think should give us a lot of confidence heading into conference. But yeah, I mean, it's expected. We're in a growth phase right now, and I think we still have a lot of room for growth. Just having 9 new guys, a bunch of younger guys, and a whole new staff. So we're completely in a growth phase right now, growth mindset, and hopefully we continue to grow. And our whole goal is to get to the last game of the year in the Dollar Loan Center.
Sure. One of the most underrated players, I think, in the nation is Zion Pullen. He averages 20.3 points per game. He's quite the leader and the competitor as well. So as you look at it, how are defenses trying to stop him? I mean, the way he's playing, it's a tough matchup for anybody.
Yeah, in the past, he hasn't scored as much. He's been about 14, 15-point scorer, but led our team and led the Big West in assists last year. This year, he's definitely come back with more of a scoring mindset. I think teams have tried to trap him and blitz him. And lucky for us, we have some skilled other guys on the floor that can play. And if they want to trap Zion, then we can go 4-on-3 on the backside. But yeah, I mean, Zion's been great and doing it in all different types of ways. He's shooting the three at a 50-some% clip this year, pushing in transition. We're playing faster than we ever have before. A lot of it has to do with personnel, but we have the ability to play faster. And he's still, it's his go-to since he's been in high school is that mid-range jumper, which is like it's not what's hot nowadays, but Zion is like kind of an old school guy that he really shoots the mid-range and he shoots it at a high level, at a high clip. And it's hard to stop. I mean, he's literally been shooting that since his high school days, and people have a tough time stopping it. And he's hit 2 buzzer beaters for us with that same shot. So I'm very lucky to have him as a senior point guard. And he absolutely does a great job leading this team.
He averages 14.6 shot attempts per game. He is tops in assists at 3.8 assists per game. What is his niche in setting up his teammates for scores when he, is a leading scorer?
Well, he's been in this offense now for 3 years. So when I took over 3 years ago, we kind of designed an offense to play in a lot of pick and roll basketball, and a variety of different pick and rolls. And so he's very comfortable in all of them. He can make the reads now. And now that he's starting to learn his teammates, his assists are starting to go up. But he has a lot of confidence in getting to his spot. And I think that his strength is that he can go left and right with a pro burst. So he really can go both ways. So it's really hard to scout. Like if you try to force him left, he can go left fast, and he can finish left. And he can make the passes going left too, just as well as he can going right. So he's hard to scout because he can go both ways. And I think he'll just gain confidence in some of these new guys that we're playing with, that his assists will go up. But I don't mind him trying to score. I think every good team has a guy that you can go to and that can get his own shot that makes me look good. It's not the coach, it's Zion just getting the spots that he knows he can get to. And now he's being a little more aggressive scoring the basketball. And because he's so efficient, There's really nothing I want him to be more aggressive. I mean, even more. I mean, he's so efficient. But it's I'm very lucky. I don't have to coach him on decision making. He seems to make the right decision the majority of the time.
One thing I was impressed with when I was studying him is the fact that he followed through with the NBA draft process. So, what did he learn there? And then, how does that information affect his game, in playing for the Highlanders?
Yeah, a lot of guys declare for the draft, and not all of them get workouts. And so I think it was really cool for him. The Cleveland Cavaliers and the Los Angeles Lakers and the Dallas Mavericks like made it a point to the Cavs flew him out, and then the Lakers picked him up at the airport in LA and had him stay the night. So he went through that process. And then he was also invited to Damian Lillard's Formula Zero camp up in Portland against some of the top point guards, high school and college. And I think, number one, it opened his eyes about how hard he needs to work and how good these other point guards are. He came back from Damian Lillard's thing going like, dang, some of these high school players are good, like really good. But it also gave him a confidence that he's, there's some guys that he worked out with in the Lakers workout. I think the Cavs workout, he said he was a little nervous, and the Lakers workout, he played pretty well against some guys that are, in the league right now. And so it's just to challenge himself, and then he's just playing with a different confidence level, and you're starting to see it. I mean, he's averaging over 20 points a game, and I think of many nights, knock on wood, he is the best player on the floor.
Flynn Cameron is your leading rebounder, and he makes 25 of 66 threes so far, which is 38%.
Yeah, Flynn has always been one of our elite shooters. This year, he went this summer and made the New Zealand national team, and he played for them all summer in the FIBA Asia Cup and helped. They got their first ever medal in an international competition. They got a bronze medal, and he was playing point guard for them. So he came back with a lot of confidence in his playmaking. So he's been that second guard for us that usually Don Pickett the last 3 years had taken that role. But now Flynn's been doing that, and his assists are up. His efficiency there, he's doing a good job there. Turns it over. We're trying to cut back on his turnovers, but just to have an aggressive guy at the shooting guard, a physical presence. Obviously, he said he leads us in rebounding. Is huge for us. He's kind of our heart and soul. And the thing with Flynn is, like, right now, he had a 3-game stretch in Vegas where he was hot, and then he's kind of simmered down a little bit. But when Flynn gets hot, that's when you get him and Zion clicking, and they're both senior guards and both been through the fires and both defend and rebound. It gives us a chance against anybody, and I think that's when we get to our championship level.
Well, your team is a tough matchup with its ability to make the three, because you have 9 players who have 22 or more triples attempted. And of course, Flynn, as we said, is the leader in that. So how do these players change opponents' matchups with that type of offensive attack?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's always thought of us as a 3-point shooting team, and so they have to account for that. The good thing is this year is that we have a 2-point offense. I think that between Lachlan Ulbrich, a freshman, and Kyle Owens, and then Zion shoots a lot of twos, we're attacking the rim more than we ever have. In fact, like if you look at our numbers, we aren't shooting as many threes as we have in the past, which I hope turns into us getting some foul calls, because we are more aggressive at the rim and more aggressive in the paint than we ever have been. And so hopefully that turns into, right now we are still not getting fouled, and I'm always working the refs going like, we're not the same. They have a narrative of the way they think of us, like, which we have been the last 2 years, shooting a ton of threes, but it's a different team this year. We definitely try to, we have a power package, and we definitely have a driving paint package. So, and a type of players that are more aggressive in the paint. So hopefully that shows up. But the 3 is the ultimate equalizer. We're not doing as good a job guarding the 3 this year, and that's been a focus, and we've been talking to the guys about that as we've been in the past. Again, it's just 9 new players, getting them to really understand what we're trying to do defensively. And then we don't shoot as many threes, but I'd like us to start drawing more fouls. So again, we got a lot of young guys, got a lot of new guys that have now. That's why I think we got 25, 30% more room for growth with this team, which is what makes it exciting. that I still think that we have plenty of room to grow here in the last 20 regular season games.
Well, you mentioned Lachlan Ulbrich and Kyle Owens. Now, these are solid forwards. Both of them shoot around 59% from the floor, and they're key rebounders. So, talk about post players and then how they affect matchups with this many 3-point shooters.
Sure. Well, Kyle has had a year, sophomore year, where he shot 38% from three a couple years ago, and I think that we'd want Kyle to get to that, back to that level. But he's been able to average nearly double digits just by playing in action with our guards. So we try to lead the. I think we're 7th in the country at pick and rolls. So like we try to lead the. We want to set as many pick and rolls as possible with those two guys, with our bigs basically. I think Lackey and Kyle have both have the ability to play inside, roll, and also play outside. Now Lachlan hasn't proven it. He hit a big three against Portland last game, and Kyle's proven it in college. But they're surrounded by 3-point shooters, and guys who bring off the bench can shoot. So we really count on them to do a great job getting us to action, pick and roll and pick and pop and getting us to the next action. And those guys have done a good job to do that. And like you said, they're both like interchangeable. They're both forwards, I guess. Kyle being 6'9", Lackey being 6'10", so they give us a flexibility to play both sides of the floor. Both pretty skilled. I think Lachlan, you'll only see him continue to improve. Like he had a significant ankle injury in the preseason that took him out for 5 weeks, but in Australia he was in our foreign tour. He was pretty dominant, and I think you'll only see him, knock on wood, continue to get better. And it both inside and outside, and he's super skilled. He can pass the ball, dribble it, and he's strong for an 18-year-old. He's 6'10" and legitimately strong.
Yeah. Now, what has been your point of view of getting off to a 7-5 start? You've only had 3 home games in your first 12.
Yeah, we played a really challenging schedule. And I think like you said, it's about 60 now, but there was a point in the season when before our home games where it was like top 35, top 40, just because of the strength of like playing on the road, playing against Creighton, Oregon, Colorado, LMU and Cal Baptist on the road, even Idaho on the road. If you would have given me an opportunity to take 7-5, I would have taken it, because going into the season, I was like, this is going to be a very challenging non-conference schedule. But I wanted to do it to make sure that we were prepared and battle tested, because I do think that we have the team to get it done this year. So this should give them a lot of confidence. There is nothing they haven't seen. They played in front of Creighton, and that was probably the worst half we played. The second half of Creighton, we had hung in there early in the first half. We had a lead, and then the last 3 minutes of the first half and second half. But 18,000 sold out, and so they've experienced that. They opened Colorado. That was a great crowd and loud, and you're dealing with the mile-high altitude and all that. There's just they'll be battle tested. There will be nothing that they aren't prepared for. For us though, it comes down to physicality. When we play these physical teams like we're about to play this weekend, Bakersfield and Long Beach, that's where we've had a little trouble getting over the hump. So now with Jalen Martinez, our center back, healthy, I think he gives us another physical presence coming off the bench. So we should be ready to go here. I don't think that there's anything that we'll be surprised by. Unfortunately, all of the Big West is very good this year. You got Hawaii, who just won the Diamond Head. You got Irvine, who's who beat Oregon. You got Santa Barbara, who's the favorites, picked to win the conference, and just the list. Long Beach State, who won it last year. So it'll be a fight, a war every single night.
Yeah, there should be a Big West. If they want to give you a game or two of the week, like somewhere on the dial, that would be good, because I follow the league and stuff, and I'd like to see more games.
Yeah. I think it's on the West Coast, I think our new commissioner, who's been a commissioner the last 2 years or 3 years, Dan Butterly, he's done a good job. We're on like some West Coast channels, California channels. He's got some ESPNU, ESPN2 games, but I think it's continuing to grow, and he's trying to put our best foot forward to get the highest seeding we can in the NCAA tournament.
Thursday evening, you have that third home game and you play the Roadrunners of Cal Bakersfield. Now, this is a team known for its defense.
Well, I mean, they got a great coach, and he's been doing it for a long time, and it is really a similar system to the way he's been coaching forever. Coach Rod, he knows what he's doing, and it's usually a really physical team. They're going to pressure you defensively. They're going to make it really hard for you. They're going to always offensive rebound, so they're great on the offensive glass, and we have to do a great job there. But it's just going to be a war. Like, you already know that they're going to be physical. They're going to be in your stuff, and you have to find a way to tough through it. And so that's always been a challenge. And every single one of our games against them, in my time as head coach, they've been close. One of our games last year was 10 points, but I mean, they've all been close. It's coming down to the end, 1 to 2 possession games, all been 1 point or 2 points, and either way. And so you just know, especially new season coming into conference, they'll be ready to go and fired up. And so will we. We'll be ready to go and fired up. It's just getting ready for the physical nature of what it's going to be, and like feeling that, like, coming out on December 29th, like, our guys just have to be prepared for it. And I can say it all I want, but they won't know it until they feel what a Bakersfield team how they guard and how they crash and how they try to bully you and push you around.
Coach, I like your setting back there. Will you introduce us to your arena, please?
Sure. This is our practice facility, which back in the day, UC Riverside was Division II for a long time, and then we became Division I about 20 something years ago. But back in the day, the legendary coach John Macy was a head coach here and won a bunch of championships at Division II level, and took us to the national championship and Final Fours at Division II. And he's been so kind to me, John Macy, to kind of just mentor me along the way, and comes and pops into practice every once in a while. But that is the legacy, and that is whose shoulders we're standing on now. It's our job to see if we can do it at the Division I level. And so, I think in the Big West Conference, the only team that has not made the NCAA tournament is UC Riverside currently. And so that is our challenge, and I think this team is up to it. So we'll see. Got a long ways to go. Got to have a great practice today, more importantly.
Coach Mike Magpayo, ladies and gentlemen, enjoyed talking to you, and I wish you the best in the Big West.
Thanks, Ken. Thanks for having me.